So we're starting to get to a point in this wipe where people have a lot more rubles, meaning they're going to be making a lot more expensive weapon builds. And with the recoil changes for this wipe, I think you're going to be seeing a much larger variety of weapons and weapon builds. And that also means a lot of really old weapons that used to be meta back in like reserve wipe days becoming really good again. And one of those weapons that I've been super excited to actually be usable again is the SA-58, the juice cannon. And even though I don't think this is going to be an absolute meta weapon this wipe, this weapon is incredibly fun to use right now. And right now, just because of the caliber and how easy BCP FMJ is to get, I think this weapon is actually really good. I've been using it quite a lot and I've been having a ton of fun running this. And I think this is the best SA-58 build you can currently run. Now starting off, you're going to need the SA-58 Extreme dust cover so you can put a rail on top and then any sight you want on it. I've been using hollow sights, but because this is a 7.62x5.1 rifle, you can use longer range sights. Just put the weapon in semi-automatic and you can definitely snipe people from much longer ranges. This weapon still has a pretty good muzzle velocity and the ammo is obviously going to be some of the best ammo you can get, especially at this point in the wipe. But this weapon is still very good at all ranges. Medium ranges, you just want to tap fire or burst. When you're close range, you just let this thing go and it's going to shred anybody. Then for the stock, we're going to have the SA-58 buffer tube adapter. On top of that, we're going to have the AR-15 Strike Industries extension buffer tube. Make sure you're using the red version. The red version is usually cheaper and it gives more muzzle velocity and more accuracy compared to other buffer tubes. Then on that, we're using the AR-15 bow carbine stock. Then on that, you're putting the rubber butt pad. Then for the pistol grip, we're going to have the SA-58 Fab defense pistol grip, and this gives quite a lot of ergo, and that's something you're actually going to need with an SA-58. And then we're going to be using the 11-inch barrel. There are two other longer range barrels. There's a 16-inch and there's a 21-inch. Now I think going the shortest, the 11-inch barrel, it's still a really long rifle, and I personally don't like running a larger barrel than this. You start to drop the ergo by a lot and you only get a little bit recoil reduction, and the weapon just becomes so long that it becomes unwieldy to use. And then on top of the barrel, you're going to have the CAS V handguard. And then for our magazines, you actually have a few choices. You have two different choices of 30 rounders, which you do need to be later into your traders to be able to buy from traders, or they're going to be pretty expensive, or you can get the 50 round drums. The 50 round drums are actually usually quite cheap, but they drop your ergo by quite a lot. If you're using a drum, you're going to have 34 ergo with this build. Maybe you want to stick with the 30 rounders, but those can be quite expensive. And if you can't get those, the 20 rounders are actually still good with this weapon. It's an SA-58. It's using pretty high caliber of rounds, and you're usually not just going to be fully automatic spraying this unless you're super close range, and unless you're going against a group, you're usually not going to be shooting out 20 rounds and not killing somebody. But the 30 rounders are usually the sweet spot if they're not too expensive. Then for the pistol grip, we're gonna have the Victor CAS V 5-inch rail. Then on that, you're gonna have the Stark SE5 foregrip. This is just the best mix of low recoil and high ergo. Now, if you care less about ergo, you could use the RK2. Now this drops the ergo of this weapon by 16, but drops the vertical recoil by an additional 3. That's your personal choice. I usually like having the higher ergo. Then for the tactile device, we're just using a 4-inch rail. Any tactile device you want. I just use a Baldar Pro, which is pretty cheap. And then finally, for the muzzle device and suppressor, you're going to be using the AR-10 CAC 7.62x5.1 muzzle brake kit. Then on that, you're going to be using the CAC 7.62x5.1 sound suppressor. This is going to be the best suppressor you can get for this weapon. Now you could run this weapon loud and it'll have, I think, around the same recoil, but a bit higher ergo. So that means you may be able to run, say, like a 50 round drum and have similar ergo. I think silence is just way too strong in Escape From Tarkov right now. But that's the entirety of this build. 46 ergo with 76 vertical recoil. It's still a little bit wild when you're using it fully automatic, but I think the recoil is low enough to actually still be able to use it, spraying it or bursting it at medium ranges. And it's just a super fun weapon to use. I've actually been really successful using this weapon this wipe, been killing whole groups sometimes with it. So it's an incredibly strong weapon right now. That's all I want to go over. So thanks for watching.
Промахнулся, блядь!